Hello everyone, Luke here. Now before I get into the review, just want to say something here. You ever feel like this year is just going down the shitter every single time? Now what I mean by that is because we first had the lockdown here in March, then now we're having a second lockdown here in November. So yeah, I'll be off pretty much for the rest of the month. I've only got 2 days left, and then I go into lockdown. So yeah, that's kind of depressing for me because it means that the youth theatre group will probably be not opening as well. But we'll just have to wait and see. But on the plus side, it means I can do more videos like this and do more sit and talks, more Taku introductions. I've got plans for 5 videos coming up. So yeah, as well as the reviews, and also just want to say something as well. Even though I am happy that we're still getting the chapters in November because we were meant to have those 2 chapters off. But now they've been reinstated. I feel like Shonen Jump or Shueisha should have waited before they actually made the announcement, but what can you do? But anyway, aside from that, let's move on to the chapter, because in this chapter, fucking hell. Oh, and also today, I don't have a Senku Cola, I have a Ryusui tea. Oh, that's good. That's a good cup of tea. Gets you perked up in the morning in Britain. But anyway, this will be chapter 172, titled Marked with an X of Wisdom. Now, obviously, this is a reference to them marking the X of the location where they actually have to go. But also, I feel like it's a reference to what Sinu and Senku are doing here in this page, where they're making the X with their fingers, and also the X shape on Sinu's face. I feel like that's a reference to it as well. But yeah, anyway, the chapter opens up with a few colour pages. Now, one thing I want to bring up is Luna's hair here. Okay, so you can see her hair right there is pink, right? But I always thought it was blonde. Like, I thought that was the official colour of Luna's hair, but hey ho, that was just me being wrong here. But anyway, it starts off with Ryusu going, ha ha ha, our treasure map is marked with an X born of wisdom. Like, obviously a reference to the tile. As they say, they're heading up, they're heading for the upper reaches of the Amazon River, and that's where they'll find the answers to the Great Petrification. Now, yeah, that was kind of implied in the last chapter, that that most of this arc is going to be centered around the Amazonian rainforest. It seems like that's going to be the case, that it's going to all be like in the rainforest and going to be dealing with a lot of wildlife and a lot of nature, which again, I hope Suika actually does get some moments of chance to shine with this, considering like she's pretty much the environmentalist of the Kingdom of Science. We get the tire page, which is another colour spread, where it sees several of the characters basically on the moon, surrounded by rabbits. If this is foreshadowing for rabbits being on the moon, yeah, I am going to be like, oh, I'm getting teary-eyed here, because I've only just realised like where they actually are. Like, okay, so they're on the moon. They're on the moon and they're surrounded by rabbits, and you have Senko there with a magnifying glass going, why is there a rabbit on the moon here? And we like, he's just studying, like, and we have Gen just popping out, or maybe the rabbits are popping out of Gen's. I don't know, but seriously, if this is a reference to what the white man actually is, like what he's gonna look like, oh, it's gonna be a giant rabbit on the moon, then okay. That is something that I don't think anybody was expecting. And in case, and as well, and I want to bring up here, Control Chaos, go and subscribe to them. They brought up in their last Dr. Stone video they did, the amount of foreshadowing that the series actually has in every aspect, not just the chapters itself, but the colour spreads with like the submarine and that. Seriously, guys, rabbits on the moon, if that's foreshadowing for what the white man actually is, then bravo, Boichi. Although they missed an opportunity here, because Suika doesn't appear in this chapter, and I really want Suika in a helmet, in a space helmet, in her melon, just bouncing around on the moon. Like, I seriously do want that. That's one of the main things I want to see in this. I want to see in the series. Now, if it doesn't happen, I'm fine with that. But I seriously want that to actually happen, because that will just be so cute and so hilarious at the same time. So anyway, moving into the chapter properly, we have Ryusui doing his ever so I desire it. Of course you do. You desire everything, Ryusui. As he goes, whatever is waiting for us at the source of humanity's destruction, as Hyoga brings up an interesting point that there may be nothing left after several millennium, and Senku even agrees with him as well. But that they're mostly heading to South America, not just to find out the mystery of the petrification, but also they have another task as well, to build super alloys. Sorry, guys. To build super alloy city, and they're just gonna be happening to pass Ground Zero to actually get there. So this is kind of like a tangent that they're going on in order to get to super alloy city in the first place. As we have Taiju and Chrome just getting ever so excited and going, adventuring in the Amazonian rainforest at Chushon. Bad. Could this get any more exciting? Yes, it could, Chrome, because you have not seen a spaceship yet. So yes, it could get more exciting than that. But Gen actually brings up a great point here, which is that the Amazonia is quite expansive, and from what I can remember, on Twitter, Caleb Cook, who's the official translator for Dr. Stone, he actually put that the Amazonia could fit about 14.5 Japans in of itself. That's how expansive it actually is. Now, I know Japan is actually a small island, but if you see like the regions that were actually made in the Pokemon region and how massive they could be at times, like the first 4 regions of Pokemon were all based in Japan. So yeah, that's kind of impressive that the Amazonas can fit 14.5 Japans in of itself. And he brings up that how they actually supposed to get there. Will they actually have to hike through? Will they actually have to hike through the Amazonian rainforest to actually get to the point that they actually need to get to? As we see Yukio just being shivering and going. The Amazonas can't be even explorers with 21st century equipment died there, and we see Senku just being his ever so charming self and scaring Suika by saying that there will be creepy crawlers that will lay eggs under your skin. That's how charming Senku is, and that is sarcasm. Seriously, Senku, I know you're excited about exploring this whole new world, but be aware of the kid that's actually there. Continuing on, Senku says that Senku actually comes back to his senses and says that they'll have to travel upriver, and it means taking a long way around, as we see them going from the Californian shore right all the way around. So like you have California on that side, and then you have Brazil on the other side. So it's kind of like a map, and they're actually going, and it actually has the map going around, like all around basically South America. And again points out that obviously it would take years in a dinky little boat that they have right now, and the main issue is fuel. So they decide to make a pit stop on the California shore, basically where they are right now on the California shore. And this was actually brought up on Twitter as well, the fact that yes, where they are right now, the location is very similar to where California actually is, or actually was. So they go on to say that they'll follow the coastline and make landfalls every time they run out of juice, so that they can produce some local sourced lumber. Which I'm actually glad that they actually brought this up, because this was one of the main things that was actually kind of lacking. It's like it's like saying the amount of pit stops I'll have to make to restock and refill themselves. So I'm glad that's actually being brought up as sort of like an issue that needs to actually be overcome itself. But anyway, I just love this panel here where you see Taiju with an axe just chopping at the tree and what looks like he's using all of his might, and then you have Tsukasa in the background with his butter blade. Just one swing takes down the tree. So yeah, that's kind of a demonstration to who's actually stronger between Taiju and Tsukasa, if that's basically what they're using to demonstrate it. Sea goes on to say all 6 engines are powered by gas from charcoal, which they'll progress slow and steady at a snail's pace, and the craft should be able to get them there. But the main problem is Stanley, which is with his fuel, he has enough to actually go faster, to actually catch up with the science brigade. Now, from what I'm seeing here, it might be that Stanley is still going to be the secondary antagonist if my environmentalist main villain is actually going to be the case. It looks like Stanley is still going to be the secondary antagonist of the South America arc, which I'm glad. I'm glad that they're actually carrying over events from the previous arc into this arc, and it's actually having consequences for the characters themselves. Now, one thing I want to say here is just the incredible detail of this, just like montage of chopping wood, chopping as they go. You have Yukio and Suika in the background rolling what must look like a huge big log. You have Chrome, basically using all his might to like chop a log, and you have Senku who's trying to chop down this tree, and you have a squirrel there who's like. Who's like mind's like thinking like, why is this person actually trying to chop down a tree that I live in? It's probably doing something like that. But anyway, Suika, despite everything, is really struggling with all the log and lumber work, which makes sense because she's only 11 at this point, so it's kind of like she hasn't got the strength of like a Taiju or a Tsukasa or even a Senku, basically. So it kind of makes sense that she's actually struggling with all this lumber work. But what she makes up for but what she lacks in lumber work, she'll probably make up for with what's going to happen later in the chapter. So anyway, continuing on, we see Luna, who's obviously having trouble struggling to actually even lift up an axe, and Max is like, Miss Luna, what are you doing? And she's like, no, I'm fine, I'm Luna, the capable girl. But it's like, she's like, this axe is heavy. And you see Tandra just going, rah, 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 and Karako's like, oh yeah, you've got all the stamina to go on, Taiju. And he's like, yeah, it means you guys can take a break and actually focus on the science stuff. I'll focus on the manual labour stuff. And as he continues to do this, he notices something glowing in the sky as he sees the word hell, like just popping up in the sky. And obviously Taiju, being Taiju, takes this to mean that the Y-Man is actually sending a message to them, like there's hell coming for you guys. Which I don't blame him. If I knew there was like someone on the moon and there saw that in the sky, I would probably think the same thing. Same thing myself. And he's like, way up on the moon is the only one who could mess with the sky like that, right? As he points out that that it's saying hell in the sky. And as they continue to study it more, they realise, like, no, this is not actually coming from the sky. If you actually look closer around the glowing letters, you'll see it looks like some kind of canvas, but very, very faint. As Sinu and Senku come to the conclusion that it's probably a kite that's being made, and it's probably paint, basically glow in the dark paint that's being used to actually project onto the kite canvas itself. But anyway, continuing on, they notice as well that there's some sort of like pumpkin nest in pumpkin nest in a tree, and Tsukasa actually says to Sinu, it's like, Dr. Sinu, any guesses who? And he's like, no, I don't know who this is. As we see what looks like some sort of spider-type creature just jump down from the tree, and everyone's like getting prepared. Like, stand back. We don't know what this creature is, but if it is, we're gonna deal with it, because you have me, Kuhoku, and Taiju here. You have the power team here, and Hyogo as well. But anyway, it turns out that it's not a spider-type creature, but rather some older looking person with kebabs and like a old Flintstone style hammer sticking out of a pumpkin. Okay, so it's Pumpkin Girl. So we have Melon Girl and now we have Pumpkin Girl. Right around when Halloween came out. What are the odds? Continuing on, Suika actually notices right away what is actually going on here, as she takes off her melon and squints her eyes as well to get the same face that the girl was actually given, and it's clear that she has the fuzzy eye disease in the same way that Suika actually has, which I really like. I really like that they've actually got that they've actually made a callback to that. The fact that Suika and Kimru are not the only ones in the world, particularly possibly in the stone world now, that have actually got the fuzzy ICs. That there's probably going to be more out there, and we're probably going to get a moment like this each and every arc, as we see the girl going, "Is someone there? Someone's stepping there! Hip hip hooray! The best day ever!" And we see her charging towards Suika before Suika dodges out of the way, and the girl lands flat on her face, and Senku's like, "Looks like Suika's right," and Crow makes an interesting observation, surviving all along with terrible eyesight. Impressive. Yeah, that is impressive considering how long she's actually been alone, as we'll find out soon enough. But anyway, continue on. They quickly make some makeshift some glasses for her, and she's able to see properly. So we get to see what she actually looks like, and she's pretty much dressed up as like a Dora the Explorer, basically adventurous hunter type person, but with a pumpkin hat in the same way Suika has a melon helmet. So yeah, I'm hoping for some interactions between Pumpkin Girl and Melon Girl, and I will tell you guys why in a bit. But anyway, the fact that they were able to make glasses for her pretty much shows that Kazuki brought the actual glassmaking equipment with him in that big sack that he had with all the science gear. So he probably thought of everything that they'll need for the trip, and he probably thought, well, if I've forgotten something, Senku could easily whip it up again because he is freaking Senku, and we have Ryusui and Dr. Sino now on our side. But anyway, the girl's like, "I can totally see my whacked out vision," and Sinu recognizes her as Dr. Chelsea, and she's like, "Ah, you're Sinu." And she's like, "Where are my manners? Getting excited is no excuse for pointing at people." Yeah, it's kind of rude to point at people. "Ah, you're Dr. Sinu." "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just getting excited. So I'm pointing for you." And this is actually a nice callback to when Gen first introduced himself into the series, as we see Senku going, "Friend of yours, Sinu." "Nope, we've never met before." And Gen is actually there going, "I don't get it." And it's like, come on, Gen, you've been in this position before yourself when you actually first met Senku, and he's like, "Oh, you're Asugori Gen." And Kuroko was like, "Oh, he's a friend of yours." "Nope, never met him in my life, but he was a lousy magician that wrote some books." So this is pretty much the same thing as well with Dr. Chelsea and Sinu. Like Sinu knows of Dr. Chelsea, but never really actually met her before. Chelsea goes on to say, "Never met, don't be silly. We bumped into each other at the National Park the day before the summit with all the big exit. We're basically buddies." So it's kind of like that person who you admire, who you meet for the first time, and you think like, "Oh yeah, this person I've met before, so we're best buddies. Even though I've only met you the once, we're still best buddies at this point." I just love moments like that. But yeah, so I love this callback to when Gen was first introduced, and it kind of makes sense that there would actually be other people that are breaking out of the stone, that are starting to like break out of the stone themselves all alone without Senku and Sinu, that are like, "Oh, we know of you." Like, "Oh, they're a friend of..." No, they're just someone we're pretty much acquainted with, or someone we're aware of in the world. I love that, and I'm hoping we get more moments like that as we go along in the chapters, not just from Senku and Sinu, but from other characters like Gen, Luna, Max, Carlos, Tsukasa, Hyoga, those type of Taiju as well could actually have someone like, "Hey, I know that guy. We were on a boxing team when we were younger." But anyway, Sinu goes on to say that this is kind of Senku's fault because since he was the one who was using social media and posting about the swallow population, and concluding that the bird statues were across the globe were in fact petrified. She was invited to Summit for her expertise. The genius teen geographic, Dr. Chelsea. She goes, "Barely a teen," so I'm guessing she's like 13, 14 with that comment. Yeah, it's not being stated what age she actually is, but based on that comment where she said barely a teen, she's either 13 or 14, or she could be 18 and 19. Either way, she's either way, she might be the youngest aside from Suika, or she might be around Senku's age, because Senku is barely a teen himself, because he's like on the precipice of adulthood himself. He's like 19 at this point in the series. and they go on to say she's got the whole world in her head, and she's like, oh, stop it, Sinu, you're making me blush. Now, this is what I'm saying about why I think there's going to be more interactions between her and Suika in the series, seeing as now she seems to be like an expert on animals and animal behavior, and why animals behave in a certain way, and why the animals were petrified. So basically, she's like an animal expert, and from the looks of her outfit, she seems to be more like an environmentally expert as well, which would fit for Suika to have that kind of person to be admiring, and sort of like, hey, I know all about nature myself, and all about forests and that, and I know a lot about animals, but I would like to learn more. So could you teach me some things, Dr. Chelsea? And Chelsea, I'm sure, would be more than happy. She'd be more like, of course I'll teach my fruit buddy. And they'll be like, fruit buddy, where you going? She's got a melon on her head, and I've got a pumpkin on her head. We're fruit buddies. I really want to see that happen. Yeah, pumpkin's a fruit because you can plant the seeds to grow it, in the same way a watermelon is a fruit itself. So yeah, they're fruit buddies unite. But no, seriously. I'm glad that they have more. I'm glad that they have a doctor of this caliber bringing it in, because we've had doctors of scientists with Senior and Seika, but there's more than one way to be a doctor. So there's doctors of drama, for crying out loud. Like, seriously, one of my tutors at university had a drama doctorate in I can't remember what she had it in, but she was called Doctor. That was her title. So yeah, there are doctors in pretty much every capacity of every medium, and that will probably be an eye opener for Suika. She'll be like, so I could become a doctor too, if and Chelsea will be like, yes, you can become a doctor. There's doctors to do with killing animals. They're called vets, so you could be a vet when you're older, and that would be a appropriate job for Suika to have, either be a vet or basically an environmentalist herself, or both. She could be both herself, a doctor, a vet, and an environmentalist. And I think that would be a perfect job for Suika to have in this new world. But also as well, I feel like this would be a great opportunity for Suika to have a mentor that's not as like psychotic as Senku. And I did bring up this on Twitter, and Steel Ram, who's another just go with that I made just then. Steel Ram, who's a member of the Control Chaos community, although he's not part of the Discord. Join the Discord, Steel Ram. We need you on the Discord. But yeah, he said that I probably hit the nail on the head with Chelsea being a mentor to Suika at this point. But anyway, continuing on, we get a flashback of when Chelsea actually first broke out of the petrification meme. Now, this makes me judging by this panel right here, it makes me believe that she is actually on that precedent of being like 13, 14, based on how young she looks here. And she goes on to say, I kept awake that whole time, just like the shooting soldier said, obviously referencing to Stanley. And then last year I got impatient and popped out of the stone. And she was like, well, I'm totally naked, that's wild. Yes, you would be naked. Yes, your clothes would have been rotted away after all that time. And Sinu brings up that her revival took 3 years less than 3 years. So she revived 3 years later than him, and he was wondering like, why did you not notice the sign that we installed just in case others broke out of the stone and they knew where to go, and it was like pointing north. And she brings up the fact that I couldn't actually see it, and everyone's just like, I can't believe that you had one job to do and you blew it. You had a 50-50 choice and you blew it. And she was like, well, I bet those guys stuck close to water. I'll just follow the coast, but north or south, I'll go south. So she went to South America. She went more towards South America, while they went up north to North America. And Luna, Carlos, and Max are like, it was a 50-50 chance, and you blew it. And they're like, hey, and Chelsea's like, hey, don't go treating me like some dim-witted kid. If it's between North and South, who wouldn't pick South? Because that's where you find California's orange groves. And Gen's like, most people don't know geography to that extent, except Tekka, because his whole thing is geography is everything. Senku goes on to say, Chelsea, did you know where different plants tend to grow? tend to grow, and he goes, "You remind me of Chrome." Although that would be more like "You remind me of suika," because that's knowing where plants and knowing where plants tend to go. That's more suika's thing. And she goes, for the most part, because I'm totally about field research. Again, adding more to my theory of like Suika might be seen as a protege to Chelsea, and Chelsea might be her mentor in the same way that Sinu was Senku's mentor. She then goes on to say that she found some spalarit pebbles. Spalarit pebbles. Boiled them down to make the glow in the dark paint. I can't pronounce that word, so I'm just going to call it glow in the dark paint, and make those kites. And again points out that the word wasn't meant to be hell; it was meant to be hell. But it turns out that Chelsea couldn't actually see, so she assumed that she just made it to the end of the piece of paper. And Senku explains the situation that they're going to take the long way around the sea, but if she happens to know a land-based shortcut, they might be able to give Stanley the slip and be able and he's hoping that she can actually give him a secret route. And she's like, okay. She gives the okay symbol. She's like, it's right here. There's one spot that'll let you cut across South America, make landfall in North Ecuador, which is sort of like on where the equator is, like basically the line that goes through the whole Earth. So basically on that exact spot, and from what I saw on Twitter, that's where an extinct volcano is. So yeah, they'll have to trek up a extinct volcano if they're going to actually get over this, if they're actually going to give Stanley the slip here to get to the Amazonian rainforest. She goes on to say that they have to do a teensy bit of mountain climbing. Yeah, teensy bit in this series, no way. It's going to be a lot of mountain climbing, and if you've ever been on a mountain climb, like I have, you know how insanely hard that is. She continues to explain that they have to ride the Amazonian River like a water slide all the way down, as Ryusui says. So we're hoofing it once we hit land. And she's like, yeah, and that's the thing. That quick trek is basically a death sentence. Yeah, basically that's basically what they came to. As Yukio points out that the mole live couldn't possibly get through the tropical rainforest, as Chelsea brings up the fact that they'll probably need something a little bit lightweight of a vehicle, like a motorcycle, but she guesses that they don't have one of those things, and Senku brings up that we sure don't. But when that's the case, and Gen is giving like his, oh my god, he's gonna say something crazy right now in this stone world face that we've missed so much. As Senku's like, we'll make a motorcycle, as he's like, I knew it. And we get the roadmap, which basically is iron brass spring, charcoal gas cylinder, engine, battery, sulfurine rubber tyres, and we see just Kazuki on a motorcycle. Like, Kazuki's going to be the first person on the roadmaps of all these crazy vehicles that they're going to be coming up with. As Cena brings up, rubber, is that a resource we possess? And that's where the chapter ends. Now, the thing about the rubber thing is that initially I thought they were going to actually skip over Rubber City, but it doesn't seem that that's the case, because Caleb Cook brought up the fact that there are some trees in what was it? How do you pronounce it again? Uconda that actually can subsidize for rubber itself. So it's basically like, okay, they're going to get some rubber here, but they'll still have to go to Rubber City to get the vast amount of rubber that they'll need for the spaceship. Like the ones in the Amazonian rainforest are not enough. They have to actually go to Rubber City in Indonesia to actually make proper rubber. So overall, brilliant chapter, loved it, absolutely loved it, and glad we're getting another roadmap of what crazy vehicle they're actually going to be making this arc, which is obviously the motorcycle to actually get to South America, which makes me wonder, because this chapter at the moment is like this arc is like 3 chapters in. Is it? Yeah, it's three chapters in. It's three chapters in at this point. At this point, so and basically the fact that they're going to build a motorcycle to not just get to the Amazonian River, but also to get to South America to make super alloys. It makes me wonder that this arc is probably going to be a bit longer than the Corn City arc and possibly the Treasure Island arc, because Corn City was 30 chapters and Treasure Island was like 37, 38 chapters, depending on how you view it. So I reckon it, because the things that they're gonna make are the motorcycle. They've got to find out the petrification beam. Then they've got to go to South America to make super alloy city, and whatever threat is actually there. If it's going to be the environmentalist or it's going to be just Stanley being on their tail all this time, that remains to be seen. But anyway, guys, what did you think of this chapter? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. Go and subscribe to Control Chaos, and this will be Lash and Luke signing off, and join the Control Chaos Discord. Later, guys.